Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of FinServ Tech Oracles. I am Johna Johnson here with my oracular colleague Jerry Murphy to share our thoughts on technology for financial services firms. And for this episode, we wanted to discuss the concept of edge computing for AI. Let's start with the basics, Jerry.
Sure.
What is edge computing?
Well, edge computing is a distributed computing paradigm that really brings edge computing and data storage closer to the areas needed. So the concept is instead of where people have gone to a lot of cloud computing where all of the computation is in the cloud, but it may create big latency problems, it's actually letting you put some of that computation at the edge of the network instead of back into the core, which should speed things up. It should give you a reduction of latency. It should also use bandwidth more efficiently in your enterprise. And ideally, you could also improve your security by limiting the amount of data that actually has to go out of your enterprise. So, those are some of the things that it can help you with.
Okay, and couple things. When we say the edge of the network, we're typically talking like the classical deployment of edge computing is for logistics or manufacturing, where we're talking about maybe having a data center that's hanging right off the manufacturing floor because there's IoT that's worried about latency.
Yeah.
What I would suggest here for AI, we're really talking about a data center that's near, or a server room that's very near where the use case might be operating for AI. So, for example, you'd be running AI algorithms specifically on this edge computing, and these AI algorithms might be in the service of, say, a contact center for high net worth individuals if you're a financial services firm, or possibly near a trading floor if you're providing insight for the traders, or possibly near a research group that is using AI to conduct research. So the idea is it's physically close to the people who are using it. As you said, Jerry, it's for security, but it's also, it's for security, it's for latency, it's also for better control. I like to think of edge computing as kind of the new three-tier computing paradigm, because back in the day, three-tier computing used to be like your database, your server, and then your client. And here we have the client, the edge computing, and the cloud. And I think that's actually a very clever way to do things architecturally. And at the back end of the cloud can also be the data center if necessary, if you are like a lot of our financial services firms keeping stuff in-house.
As a matter of fact, when I think about it, some of the first edge computing probably existed in financial services before we called it edge computing. If you remember, it used to be, maybe this was 10 or 15 years ago, you started having trading people on the trading floors trying to push out of the computation as close as possible to the trading floor so that they could reduce the time for their transactions. The concept of doing that itself is edge computing, although at the time that people started doing this, they weren't really calling it that. But you could certainly, when you add the concepts of AI and when you think about what you just said as far as customer service, there's a whole other paradigm of how that can be used for financial services. As you said, helping individual people with clients on quickly getting information. Another thing I was thinking about too is you could actually use it for things like language translation. If you got contact centers that are working in different places of the world, they could be doing those translations locally as opposed to having to do that over vast distances. So I think there are certainly several different use cases that people should be thinking about with that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to keep in mind is that in financial services firms in general, in most cases, with one exception, where I've seen AI go into play has been as kind of a sidekick. And so all the use cases we've provided, AI is serving as a sidekick for the human element, the human engagement with customers, the human effort to do research, the human effort to to do trading or conduct the core business. So the one exception would be actually with education and training, where we're seeing AI really help there. And also we're seeing AI help a lot with folks who are in field offices, branch offices, particularly for, smaller banks that have lots of branches. where people are just trying to find out what's the right way to do things, I need to look up the practices and policies, and AI can be helpful there. So it might make sense, for example, for an architecture to have small but useful edge computing out at the branches of those financial services firms.
As a matter of fact, as you mentioned it, that's going to become probably critical for a lot of these smaller banks where larger banks are just crushing them on size, and they're having a tough time getting people. And then with remote workforces posted in a branch, these are alternatives that are really going to help make some of those smaller banks more viably compete, because there are a lot of people that like the intimacy of the community bank, right, the human touch of it. But the thing is, are people actually going into branches anymore? And I think my experience, having run a company that serviced these types of communities, is you get the older people, anybody that's say over 50 or 60, they have a tendency to go into branch. If you want any new customers, anybody who's recent college graduate, young adults, Gen Xers, a lot of those have never stepped foot in a bank.
Right. They don't want to. Yeah, exactly.
But they still need financial advice.
Exactly. So kind of here's the main question. Do you think enterprise firms, particularly financial services firms, should be assessing edge computing for AI?
Oh, they absolutely should, right? I think this is something that when you look at where are the return on investment in AI, this is one area where I think you could actually show a very clear return on investment in terms of the benefits you get using this for the cost of what it takes to implement it, and compared to...
Well, I think, but let's be careful about the it. The it is not so much AI, it's edge computing for AI.
Yeah.
So do we feel that there's a real cost-benefit analysis here? Because I think it's certainly something to assess. I would back off saying that there's a clear ROI for edge computing for AI just yet, but it's certainly something to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely look at it, and that's one of the things that you do have to evaluate is what the the cost and the benefits are. But certainly, from my perspective, it's worth checking out.
Excellent. Well, that's about it. I guess the big takeaway here is edge computing for AI. You should, if you're a financial services firm or bank or any an insurance company, have a look at it. It might be worth it. And that's it for us until 0900, until our next episode. Boy, I need a little more coffee. Our next episode, which will be next week at 0900, right before the markets open on Tuesday. And here is my Go Maryland coffee cup. And I think you have the same one, Jerry.
Although I do, but I currently have my Flute Center of New York coffee mug.
There you go. I thought it was going to be your Princeton one. I always like the Princeton one.
I vary them, yes.
Yes. But anyway, see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll be a little more awake, and certainly want to hear from you. So if you got questions or thoughts, let us know. Thank you.
Take care.